Andrei Grebenshchikov, Legion of Last Hope. People lack miracles. God is to blame for the shortage. Bow to him. Pray. You will suddenly bargain for grace. Atonement is a strange process. If you are not a priest but a soldier, after all, your short life can only be given away once. Even if there is half a chance out of 100, the heavens will not let you perish. Carrot and whip are useless. All hope is only for maybe. And the task seems simple. 30 minutes to decide. How can you die so that others can live? The finger continued to press the trigger, but instead of the roar of a shot, only the dead thud of the firing pin was heard. Click! The machine gun spat out the last cartridge and fell silent. The man looked in a frenzy at the weapon that had betrayed him. The ominous growl, so close and persistent, made him look away from the helpless AKM. Hungry beasts, almost having cornered their lonely victim. Bloodlust, anticipation of an imminent feast in every growl. Who used to be the ruler of the world, now became a link in the food chain of its new masters. The man backed away. With trembling hands, he grabbed the machine gun by the barrel, holding it like a club. He threateningly drew an arc in front of himself. "Get in line, creatures!" However, his voice trembled, and instead of a menacing battle cry, only a hoarse whisper escaped from his throat. The beasts, barely visible in the darkness, were in no hurry, as if absorbing the fear emanating from the victim, enjoying the feeling of imminent death that had engulfed the biped. Having formed a semicircle, they slowly advanced from 3 sides. The man turned around, hunted, trying to understand where the night hunters were driving him. There was a wasteland behind him, only the silhouettes of 5-story buildings in the distance. He couldn't make it. He couldn't reach them. Another short glance back. On the left side, about 100 meters away, a building of a completely surprising shape was discovered. A wide, squat facade, crowned on the sides with rounded turrets, and in the center, from a powerful base, a high arrow-shaped superstructure grew, rushing towards the sky. Something vaguely familiar. But a sticky horror clouded his eyes, and his consciousness, screaming only for deliverance from the nightmare, did not give the shaky, elusive memory a single chance. The machine gun slipped from his weakened hands, and a cry of despair finally broke free. Leaving his pursuers behind him, the man rushed to run, not seeing anything in front of him, allowing madness to overwhelm him. The lone stalker ran as he had never run before, because his life depended on this sprint. Maybe it was worthless, but when death is on your heels, there is nothing more important left in the entire universe. The man ran, and his thirst for life was not hindered by the heavy chemical protection that at other times constrained his movements, nor by the fatigue accumulated during a long sortie, nor by the tight, face-hugging gas mask that prevented him from breathing. The fugitive was left alone with his instincts, and everything around him disappeared, even the hungry predators, eager to sprinkle the cold earth with hot human blood. Only a strange structure howled ahead, its very appearance inspiring confidence in salvation. It was not even a thought, but pure knowledge that penetrated the impenetrable veil of fear. When the man ran full speed through the wide-open doors and fell to the floor, exhausted, he no longer heard the howling of the creatures that remained on the other side. Evil, hateful, and powerless voices. The creatures of the night had missed their rightful prey. There was no way for them to enter the vaults of the old, long-abandoned church. The stalker, who had lost consciousness, found shelter. But he never found the long-awaited peace. He had strange dreams that seemed real. Other people's memories turned into his own, and visions of the past wove into the torn fabric of the present. A scream, and a blow, another blow. There is a bloody veil in my eyes. Instead of sounds, there is a hum and echo of distant curses. There is blood on my lips, salty, tart. I try to open my eyelids. It feels like rusty iron shutters, a strained creak, a hint of twitching and an exhausted retreat. There are no thoughts, only a dull pulsation of veins under the thin skin of my temples, and the only persistent desire, a futile goal, to disassemble the shackles of darkness and see. Obsessive and hysterical voices forcefully break through the cocoon, mistakenly called the cranium. That creature, the caterpillar, never existed, and the butterfly will never be born. The eardrum, under enormous pressure, monotonously knocks out, "You are a creature. You killed us all. You are a creature. You are everyone." The outside world is scratching, knocking, clawing, and I cannot hide. Flashes of pain, everywhere, without a break, without a stop, without end. Forget, leave, close myself off and never return. The endless sea. I feel good. I merge with the warm, gentle waves. The bright ray of the unquenchable sun calls to itself, and the cautious, delicate wind wraps me in an invisible blanket. To swim, at the will of water, air, and light. I feel good. Sati. Enough. You'll finish off this freak like that. A commanding voice. Strong, long accustomed to sharp, unambiguous commands. But why are you here? Go away. Leave me. The sea is indignant and covered with foamy ripples, unattractively cutting through the mirror-like surface. Go away. An icy shaft, scorching, merciless, rolls in and, clinging with sharp claws, tears the skin, tearing out flesh in bloody chunks. I scream, choking and gasping. Go away! The sea is gone. Only the sun, gone mad, swinging like a mad pendulum in the black, cracked sky. Wake up, you beast! A sharp, ringing slap in the face. Commander, should I pour more water on him? Enough. Give me some smelling salts and a doctor. Quickly! I open my stone, heavy eyelids. My eyes are watering from the unbearably bright light. A lonely light bulb flutters like a butterfly under the distant ceiling. Someone's outstretched hand interrupts the meaningless flight. The lamp freezes in place, no longer burning the retina. Finally, the gaze focuses. A tiny room with shamelessly naked stone walls, devoid of wallpaper and plaster. Of the furniture, a chair, frozen in the middle of emptiness. Someone's invisible presence is poured into the trembling air. Here is anger, hatred, and fierce, incinerating malice. Come out, show yourself. I am lying on the floor, damp, flooded with cold, heat-sucking water. I can barely feel my body. That means there is no pain, only a chill. Somewhere billions of kilometers from here, far, far away, a frosty tingle is tingling in my fingers, and my legs are tapping out a convulsive, small tap dance. I am not here, only my body, alien and tortured, curled up on the dirty floor. Why are you dragging me into this dirt? Why are you clinging? Let go. Helpful memory interrupts the silence and destroys the silence with a frantic Morse code. Fact after fact, memory after memory. I am needed here, and someone else's body becomes my own, and terrible pain tears me to pieces. A desperate cry breaks out of my chest and beats like a frightened, blinded bird against the indifferent walls of the prison. Do you know how it will all be? The white doctor's coat does not suit this man with a small, rat-like face at all. He looks more like a thieving, sneaky accountant. The well-groomed black mustache above the narrow, capricious lips moves disgustingly with every word, enhancing the resemblance to a rodent. He looks into my eyes, stares intently, arrogantly, squinting his rare whitish eyebrows unattractively. Do you want to scare me? I'm not afraid of sterile laboratory mice. I smile involuntarily. I have eloquent facial expressions. The facial muscles are damaged in many places, which is why any expression turns into a contemptuous grin. Just in time. The enraged doctor breathes acrid cigarette fumes in my face and, spraying poisonous saliva, whispers, "If you're lucky, your heart will immediately fail. Bam. And that's it. You're done." But that happens rarely. Not everyone gets the lucky ticket. More often, the liver fails, followed by the kidneys. Then your vision and hearing turn off, and you die in pitch darkness and silence, alone with pain. The paralyzed body helplessly sends cries for help through the synapses and nerve endings, but the pain blockers are indifferent because they have long since died, along with part of the brain. You can't lose consciousness, it's already dead. Only pain is alive, terrible, unlimited. Doctor, what's the point of all this? The first words come with difficulty to me. My throat is dry, and my wounded lips refuse to obey. Don't waste your precious time on me. I saw how our old people died, how our children suffered. My station is dying out, and I try to get up. But weakness and 2 pairs of strangers' hands hold me in place. They assigned several healthy guards to me, a prisoner breathing with great effort, beaten half to death, almost unconscious. A good sign. It means they are afraid. You will die like a tunnel dog, whining and howling. It's a shame that the square is not a fascist station. I vividly imagine a rat doctor in an SS uniform, a black Nazi cap, and with a monocle in his eye twitching from a nervous tic. I lean back in a creaky chair and burst into light, carefree laughter. At least I want my laughter to sound light and carefree. The doctor swings his tiny lady's fist and, leaning his frail body forward, aims at my face. I easily dodge the clumsy attack and catch the evil, clumsy doctor on my outstretched knee. He chokes on a half-scream and, bent in half, silently slides to the ground. It's a pity that the guards will knock me out now, and I won't see how the rodent crashes with his crooked front fangs into the inhospitable floor. They really do beat me, but not for long and, surprisingly, without much zeal. Apparently, the doctor is not popular even among his own. Having finished the physical exercises with my body, the guards immediately switch to the silent, unconscious doctor. The big guys easily, but without unnecessary tenderness, pick up his rat carcass and carry him in an unknown direction. Let's hope for the garbage dump, to his relatives. It's a pity that my dreams of peace and solitude are not destined to come true. I feel someone's invisible presence, and also the danger that permeates the musty air of the prison cell. There's a serious opponent here, scary, merciless. Well, hello, Pavel Aleksandrovich. A hoarse voice is heard. The new interlocutor slowly emerges from the darkness and looks at me point blank. He looks to be about 60 strong peasant years, collected, lean, shaved to a shine. And grey as a hawk. I know him. Of course, not by sight. For any Dynamo player, a meeting with Dodon most often means imminent death. The main warrior of the mighty armed forces of our eternal enemy, the commander, the second person on the square after the commandant, a murderer and a ruthless killer. My colleague. And you too, Alexei Vladimirovich. I'm almost half his age, although my head is also marked with grey. Dodon approaches. His red, inflamed eyes bore into me, gnawing like hungry dogs into my brain. What are you doing, bitch? With just his lips, almost silently. What are you doing? He really wants to hit, with full, deadly force, and hit without stopping, until his battered fists are exhausted, until his tired legs cramp, until there's bloody foam, his and mine. I understand him. I understand him perfectly. The only thing I can't explain is how he holds back. If he were in my hands, I would kill him, right away. without talking or torture. With a quick, merciful bullet to the forehead, I would blow his filthy brains up the wall. There's one terrible military secret. Do you know how many people live here, on the square? Do you know how many children there are among them? Of course not. We know how to keep secrets. But when you are dying, when there is only one breath left until the last judgment, I will whisper in your ear how many you have ruined. And before him, you will not justify yourself with war or revenge or hatred of the enemy. Words filled with poison penetrate the consciousness, poisoning it. I have something to say, but my strength is leaving only oblivion. Your execution is scheduled for the morning. You and your people, all will be hanged. Too humane a death for my taste. Such freaks clearly do not deserve it. It is a shame that the commandant is so lenient and merciful to the enemies of the station. But I can restore justice and turn the hours remaining to you into hell. Tomorrow you yourself will climb into the noose, and with joy. Dodon no longer addresses me. Calling out to one of the returning guards, he gives detailed instructions. Just don't hurt him too much. Don't leave any traces. We are a humane station. No self-harm, but no sentimentality either. Call the doctor. Let him keep the bastard conscious. Very skilled and efficient executioners appear on the humane 1905 square, and time turns into infinity. I didn't think or even dream of seeing the surface again. We went to the square for death. We brought it to our enemies and prepared to die ourselves. Life managed to surprise us once again. To the right and left of me are heavily armed squarers, clad in armor from head to toe. We, their prisoners, are content with very conditional respirators and the most primitive radiation protection suits. It doesn't matter, thick armor or time-worn rubberized fabric. The road ahead is one way for everyone. I feel easy, and it's not because of the horse doses of painkillers that were pumped into the exhausted Dynamo players before the hasty ascent to the surface, more like an escape. My face, covered only half by the ugly muzzle of a breathing mask, feels a small, barely noticeable movement of air. Wind. A word forgotten underground. Wind. Eyes, forehead, hair. Everything is naked and enjoying the forbidden flow of contaminated, deadly oxygen. The Geiger counter, having gone crazy long ago, falls silent, probably from despair and helplessness, or maybe I turned it off. I don't know. I don't remember. I don't want to listen to the device choking with a squeal in the meager minutes allotted to me. It's too late to be afraid of radiation. It won't have time to do anything to us. Gray, dark sky. I remember you in different ways. Blue, flooded with sunlight, and blue-black, illuminated from within by the moon and twinkling dots of stars. I remember white clouds of impossible shapes and gloomy clouds, foreshadowing the arrival of slushy autumn and its cruel but so beautiful friend, winter. All this is no more, only opaque eternal darkness on the horizon and an inescapable heaviness overhead. I will never love the new world. The memory of the forever lost paradise will not allow it. It is not scary to leave, to abandon this land, saturated with suffering and innumerable sorrows. But children born without a sky have no other present and future. Our generation has deprived them of the sun, and in return, gifting them only with eternal walls on all sides. We are guilty. I am guilty. Therefore, without hesitation, I will give my hopeless life, if only to prolong yours, to make it a little easier and brighter. To die for others. Fear cannot spoil this feeling. A cautious call brings me out of my reverie. Commander, are they really? The surviving private from my squad nods towards the square dwellers. Not going to give us any weapons? I shrug. We can fight with our bare hands. The Dynamo players laugh approvingly and with understanding. 2 Dynamo players with a shovel are like an escalator. The joke may be old and mercilessly distorted by each station in its own way, but it is enough for the condemned. I always dreamed of fighting the mutas hand to hand. They say you have to twist their heads strictly clockwise, so as not to accidentally strip the threads. Our guards look in bewilderment at the doomed prisoners, covered in their own blood, bursting into laughter. When it becomes unbearable, the most terrible predator on earth begins to laugh. The former most terrible. One of the panzers approaches me. "Are you having fun, Dynamo?" His voice, amplified and simultaneously distorted by the speaker of the intercom, is unrecognizable. But I am sure that Dodon is in front of me. Why did he come with us? I'm trying to understand this strange and hateful man. And I probably understand. After all, he is a soldier, like the rest of us. Yes, sir. Square. And are yours already learning funeral marches? Of course. Someone will have to march on your graves. I hope the mutants don't dance a jig on one mass grave for all of us. I turn around at the same time as Dodon and see the priest who postponed our execution, his gloomy face, not covered or protected by anything at all, reflects the extreme degree of spiritual concentration. Now is not the time to start discord. We all have the same business. The churchman looks meaningfully at Dodon. Alexei Vladimirovich, give the Dynamo players weapons. Now his gaze burns into me. Pavel Aleksandrovich, won't you shoot Ploshchad in the back? I shake my head. A proud word gets stuck in my throat. Dynamo doesn't do mean things. After I deliberately infected someone else's station, I wheeze. I won't. Do you believe in God? The smile does not disappear from the priest's face, but his piercing, slightly narrowed eyes look serious. If only I knew. I feverishly recall how it is customary to address priests. At random, I cautiously add, Holy Father. Why so pompous? The churchman bursts into laughter. Father, or Father Mikhail, are quite enough. Why do we need such importance? I've seen too much grief and injustice in my time, Father. He nods readily. I understand. And why did you agree to come here? At least here you can die like a human being, like a soldier should. Father Mikhail frowns and scratches the bridge of his nose thoughtfully. It's hard to live without faith, and even harder to die. And if you doubt what you're going to lay down your life for, I don't envy you, Pavel Aleksandrovich. Father, I believed in a lot of things. When the children got sick, I believed in the Dynamo doctors, and then in the doctors from the entire friendly metro line. When everyone in turn threw up their hands, I believed in the station leaders, in our heroes, stalkers, and scientists who went in search of ancient cures, 3 fully armed expeditions, the best people of Dynamo. When no one returned, there was only one thing left to believe in, the meanness of the enemy square, which hid a life-saving vaccine in its rich storehouses. So I didn't just have faith. I was filled with it, full to the brim. But now, all my faith has gone, to the last drop. There is only a little stupid, completely blind hope left. I cannot believe in the power of church rituals and ceremonies. Forgive me, Father. I want to, but I cannot. And I will hope until my last breath. That's how I am made. No one believes. You ran from your station out of helplessness, Dodon, out of fear of seeing how one day the eyes of his beloved grandson will not open. There is a metallic ring in Father Mikhail's voice. Instead of faith, despair. Instead of love, pain. But all we need is a miracle. You, soldiers, to hold out in pitch hell for an incredible amount of time. Me, a priest, to knock on the door of heaven. We are a beacon in the night. We must burn, sparing no effort, burn and decay in the sacred flame. We are the SOS, signal, a radio wave, a prayer, a cry for help. Believe in what you want, but only believe, and wait for an answer from the other side. Otherwise, you know it will be otherwise. We are the legion of last hope, a spark of faith in the bottomless hell. The priest from the enemy square beckons two acolytes with a gesture, and they immediately begin to pull off his protective suit. You have done us great harm. He seems to pay no attention to the people fussing around. Trying in wild despair to save your station, you have exposed ours to mortal danger and multiplied the grief in two. A terrible sin is on your soul, and your hands are elbow-deep in blood. Having removed the rubberized protector, the acolytes extract from an inconspicuous bundle a gilded mantle, shimmering with some unnatural light for the dead world, and now they fit it to the tall and powerful figure of Father Mikhail. So atone for your sin, warrior. Now is the time. Turn boundless malice into the common good. Our small underground worlds, forgotten by everyone except God, need a miracle. When he is on your side, doing good is easy and not at all scary. Hold out for half an hour. Do not flinch. Do not give the evil spirits the slightest chance. Full armor, dressed in majestic clothes, clutching a massive cross with a crucified figure of an ancient god in one hand and a censer in the other. The priest looks menacing, a warrior of light in the kingdom of eternal darkness. I promise, Father. My voice trembles. We will not retreat. So be it. With a sweeping, confident movement, crossing our small army, he abruptly turns and goes to the temple. The heavy wooden door knocks loudly, and the minister of the church, together with his retinue, disappears forever under the canopy of the sacred building. Keep your word, Dynamo, comes from behind. Dodon no longer hides behind his helmet. Turning his face to the fresh, invigorating wind, he smiles blissfully. Oh, if only it would rain now, like before. I dream of it all the time, strong, stinging, alive. I pay no attention to such strange lyricism for a seasoned warrior. I only gesture at the removed helmet. You don't expect to return either. My enemy sits right down on the cold ground, crossing his legs Turkish style and inviting me to follow his example. And now consider myself a deserter. I gathered volunteers, opened the arsenal, took prisoners, a criminal case, maybe even a firing squad. I've become a traitor to my own people. Where can I return now? I have to risk everything just so that... However, this doesn't concern you. In any case, don't delude yourself or the people with vain hopes. With the first alarm, such a horde will rush here. Look, on the other side of the road is the Mitny Dvor shopping center. Opposite is the office house, and diagonally is Rubin. Everything is intact, completely untouched by man since the beginning of time. Modern, of course. Periodically, hot stalker heads try to correct this oddity and uncork the forbidden vessels. So with the first shots, whole hordes of mutants will come running here. The last record for holding a circular defense was only 12 minutes, but we need to hold out for all 30. Service for health is not distinguished by its laconicism. No, a shitty situation. That's not the word, Hercules, that's not the word. At least they'd give us armor. You see, we'd win back a couple of minutes. Dodon looks at his own squad of panzers without any expression and waved his hand listlessly. That's all nonsense. It won't help much. They dressed up more for show. I'm betting on something else. How do you feel about drugs? I spit in response. I personally shot drug addicts and dealers. Well done. At least there's something right in you. Apparently, even in the blackest soul, there are some light spots. With these words, the squarekeeper takes a small metal box out of his duffel bag, reminiscent of a simple box, devoid of the slightest pattern. Inside are medical syringes and ampules, neatly laid out in several rows. Is this what I think? One can only hope that Dodon will hear the full depth of contempt contained in the capacious phrase. That's it, but not that. He shakes his gray head. Don't expect a high. The reaction increases several times. The pain is almost completely blocked. Strength increases. The main thing is not to lift the mutts above yourself in the heat of the moment. The bones of your hands can crunch from such a mass, and you won't even notice. A heroic anthill. I twirl the glass ampules, filled with a cloudy liquid with interest. Funny thing, and the side effects. Who knows? The drug is old, experimental. They say 2 syringes are a lethal dose. A heart rupture is guaranteed in a couple of hours, and here there are as many as 3 doses per person. If someone expects to live forever, they can. They can't, I interrupt angrily. Give me your nonsense, and I clarify. 3 per person. Well done. The old warrior is generous with praise again. If you weren't such a complete bastard, you could have become a good soldier. Go to hell. Checking the connection. The earphone borrowed by Dodon hisses in my ear. I flinch in surprise. The volume is turned up to full blast. I hear. Don't you dare screw down the speaker. The strained, hoarse voice sounds again. Soon everything will turn into hell, and in hell there is such a roar that... Got it. Over. I rudely cut him off, not needing an explanation. My head is spinning from the injections. My eyes are hurting, and something is constantly buzzing in my ears. Probably the blood has rushed to my head. Now I could sit for a couple of minutes, recover. However, first I need to arrange the people according to the scheme agreed upon with the vile square. Then, at first timidly, barely audible, and then more and more confidently, gaining incomparable strength, the alarm bell sounds from above. A minute later, its melodic and at the same time assertive ringing fills the entire space around, driving the eternal silence of the deserted dead city far beyond its borders. With their heads thrown back, everyone, both the square players and the Dynamo players, direct their rapturous gazes at the bells swinging in the sky. The metal sings. Let it be a farewell song, after which there will be nothing more. It doesn't matter. If you have heard how iron cries and laughs, you have nothing more to fear in this life. The sacred metal calls to battle, filling the soul with trepidation and courage, instilling, maybe not hope. No one has it, but a sense of the worthiness of the very last sacrifice that one person can make for the sake of another. Guys, to your places. Reluctantly, breaking the magic of the moment, I nevertheless push my people and make them remember the task, to stand to the death. No matter what is happening around, the heart turns into an anvil. A crazy hammer tirelessly falls on it, beating out an inhuman rhythm. Strike, strike, another strike, silence. The fiery engine chokes, unable to pump the rapidly accelerating scarlet, bloody fuel. I convulsively clutch my chest and fall to my knees, gulping air. Start up, beat, beat. Come on, my dear, don't let me down. A weak strike, a failure, a reproachful silence in my deafened ears. Come on. The blood, with incredible effort, breaks through the almost surrendered heart and revives it with insane energy. Come on! Strike, strike, strike. Work to the point of exhaustion. Do not spare yourself or me. Just give me another half hour. I whisper. I beg. Strike, strike, strike. Just don't get lost. Don't die before your master. The blood flow increases. It breaks through to every cell of the body, carrying a seething force. A brown fog covers the eyes. Something viscous gushes from the mouth, ears, nose, turning the whole face into a red mask of death. I know this salty, tart taste. I managed to get used to it over the years after. In spite of everything, it invigorates, brings me back to consciousness. Forward! I jump up and I see nothing. A black, thick haze obscures everything around. I feel a general movement. The ground under my feet is shaking and shuddering. Strange shadows are everywhere. They rush about, swirl in a strange and unnatural dance. A heavy, gloomy sky falls on me. I scream, raising my hands in silent horror, like an Atlas who has lost his mind, madly trying to hold up the divine dome of the universe. Something is happening. I see a face distorted with fear. The man is silently screaming, his lips forming words devoid of sound and meaning. Name. He repeats my name tirelessly. The sound breaks through my blood-soaked ears, generating an alarm signal in my brain. This world is calling me. It consists entirely of rumble, the screech of bullets and groans, flesh turning to dust. Hercules! Hercules! Wake up, Pasha! Hercules! This world asks, begs its victims to throw themselves on the altar. Pasha! This world will drink our souls, but such is the fate of all soldiers, to kill and die. Hercules! I dodge another slap and grab my fighter's hand. I'm fine. How much time has passed? Pavel Aleksandrovich, thank God. It's hell here. 3 minutes only. Come on, Petya, run. I'm okay, really. Come on. Through the incessant roar of war, I hear aloud, "The commander is alive. Now we'll turn up the heat." Time to make up for lost time. The machine gun growls and groans, eager to fight. Now, friend, be patient. It's all just beginning. They gently pat me on the shoulders. You're just in time, Commander. I look around. The fever of battle does not let up. The ancient instincts of a predator and a hunter demand new victims, but the crossroads in front of the church is empty. Only piles of corpses. 9 minutes. First wave. Who is speaking? My eyes focus with difficulty. Dodon. He grins. Overdose or chickened out at first? A creaky, ear-scratching laugh. I can't stop. Croak, not recognizing my own voice. I won't start my heart a second time. The enemy looks intently, his mouth no longer twisted with contempt. Here, a huge machete and a landing knife fall into my hands, naked steel. It sings. Ancient, forgotten hymns revived by death. The steel burns with lust, begs, water me with blood. Now I laugh myself. Scaring the fighters, I burst into inhuman laughter. Yes, you will get what you dreamed of, and even more. I spin around my axis, tirelessly lunging at the invisible enemy, the blessed weapon cutting the air. While the air, second wave. Finally, silence, strange, caressing and tormenting the ear. 17 minutes. They look at me in fear and delight. I should ask about losses, but I can see everything anyway. The second wave spared few. I look for Dodon. He's alive. He's sitting on the ground, motionless, his gray head hanging low, but his chest heaving heavily. So we'll fight some more. The steel blades choked on someone else's blood and lost their former shine, turning scarlet. We'll all drown today in the brown liquid, our own, and those of those creatures that... Dynamo, you're a real butcher. The old square distracts me. Again a mockery, but there are new notes. Fear? Fear. He seems to read my mind, for those freaks who were unlucky enough to end up on the other side of the barricade. We laugh. It's a shame you can't see yourself. I don't know if you're a bloody demon or an angel of war. The main thing is that today, this monster is on our side. Demons don't protect churches. But you don't have wings either. The buzz is wearing off. Adrenaline is still boiling in my veins, but it won't last long. I'm neither an angel nor a demon. I'm a hostage of the last battle, its victim and hero. I live by death. I'll die without moving. While my heart is pounding in my chest, I quickly place the surviving soldiers in the thinnest areas of the defense, and I take up the machine gun. Let the honest steel get a break, for I can't rest. Come on, bastards. Let the storm break out. It doesn't keep me waiting. Hercules. Her hand cramped up. She continued to squeeze the trigger of the empty, now useless machine gun. Hercules. The torn to shreds barrel still steamed with heat and looked pitifully at the sky, frozen right above her head. Another second, and it would flatten me. Hercules, your mother. It was Dodon. He was lying on his back, in a huge pool of blood, scratching the ground with his crooked fingers. What time? Hera, you son of a bitch. I can hear your breathing. Time? The old soldier's legs were broken, and his face. There was no face anymore, only thin lips twisted in an endless question. What time? 25 minutes. And we were great, weren't we? The blind old man laughed, but then choked. He coughed with difficulty. Who else was left? No, Dodon. We're the only ones in the finals. What's that noise? That strange crackling sound? From under the huge mound of inhuman bodies that covered the second, last line of defense, a pillar of flame shoots up, directed vertically upward. The dead hands of the flamethrower operator buried there have not loosened their grip. It's death, Dodon, scratching at our doors, hurrying us. You're a funny guy, Pasha. Do you still have that chemical crap left? I nod, as if my interlocutor can see me. Just a couple of ampules. Let's have one for the road. We need to fight a little more. Let's go. I put the damned vial into his palm, which grants strength in exchange for the remains of life. We clink glass syringes. The chemistry helps instantly, and Dodon smiles, easily sitting down on the ground. Too bad my legs won't obey me. Tie me somewhere, even to a traffic light or a pole, and give me some knives. Maybe I'll win back half a minute. I doubt that a blind warrior will be able to hold out for even 5 seconds, but since he decided to die standing... Dodon, do you believe that everything was not in vain? The old man grins unkindly and looks at me point blank. Do you know why I'm here? Why did you go against the commandant? Why did you leave your only loved one alone in the infirmary? Why didn't you kill you filthy enemies, without a soul or conscience, in prison? Why did you not only go to your death yourself, but also take away your faithful and devoted people? Because, Dynamo, I've seen miracles in my damned life, and the most wonderful miracle is that they call me Antoshka, and I happen to be your grandson. His own dad, our station doctor, diagnosed him at birth, measuring out exactly 2 days of life. He measured it out and then laid hands on himself. He could not bear the loss of his wife, who died in childbirth, and the sentence he personally passed on his son. But Father Mikhail stood by the cradle for a week, without sleep or rest, praying for his sinless soul from death. And he prayed for it, pulled him out of the next world. Tomorrow my grandson turns 5. True, his chances of surviving until the morning are slim, too sickly, too weak. The infection you brought will take him first. So think about it. What can an orphan who was saved in spite of everything, a diagnosis, an evil fate, a death sentence, count on in this world? We are obliged to perform a miracle, Hercules, no more and no less. You owe me a debt. Pay it back in full. We are silent. Accusations and repentance. Words are of no use here. Only when the earth is filled with a roar and the approach of the last wave that will sweep us away without a trace is heard. Dodon quietly asks, "Time?" 29. I will try to forgive you, Dynamo. Honestly, 30 seconds per brother is a good deal. But 38 seconds, an eternity for a blind soldier. 38 seconds of desperate battle before the horned monster rips open his belly from groin to chest. Blood, hot, pulsating, still full of life, spurts into the sky like a fountain, and in an instant falls to the ground in thousands of heavy, already dead drops. The earphone in my ear whispers goodbye. Rain. Hercules, it's raining. That's all. There's only the temple behind me in the sea of shadows that spilled out around. A wave, a real shaft, is approaching me. Through the slightly open doors of the church I hear secret words, and my heart, seized with agony, echoes them with resounding beats in response. Merciful Lord, Jesus Christ. I see hundreds of eyes burning with fierce malice. Hunger and rage. You cannot satisfy either one or the other. I entrust our children to you, whom you have given to us, having fulfilled our prayers. I run to meet the murderous stream. I ask you, Lord, to save them by the ways that you yourself know. A machine gun in my left hand, steel in my right. Preserve them from vices, evil, pride, and let nothing that is contrary to you touch their souls. The lead, having collected its tribute, runs out. The striker knocks in vain, finding no more cartridges. The machete, now the punishing sword, draws a fiery arc. But grant them faith, love, and hope for salvation. The sword accelerates with every moment. It is so swift. I can barely keep up with it. A streak of flame, a mad, choking howl from the other side. The flaming blade rips through the air, trembling with tension and the fetid flesh. May your angels always protect them. I miss the blow and fly far back. The seething sea rolls in with a roar, dragging my body that has lost its balance. But there is no pain, and you, in your ineffable mercy, forgive them. I jump up. I raise my trusty sword, which has not fallen from my hand, to strike, and I don't have time. By the prayer of your most pure mother, the Mother of God, and the ever-Virgin Mary, and your saints, Lord, have mercy and save us. A pair of huge fangs' tusks crash into my chest with a terrible crunch. The world freezes. Now and ever and forever and ever. My ribs are my armor protecting my tormented heart. They cannot withstand, cannot contain the boundless hatred that breaks wave after wave against human stubbornness and will. We are unyielding and predatory creatures. This world is ours, by right of birth, by right of strength. It's a pity, but in the wall of bones called the rib cage, a breach was found. Like a battering ram, my body, pierced through and through, crashes into the doors of the temple, and they shudder. The beast that defeated me screams shrilly. I see its eyes opposite mine. The creature is shaking with horror, real, animal, incomparable horror. I use the only remaining weapon. My lips form a barely audible but heaven-shaking Amen. Dodon, do you hear? We have performed a miracle. The overhanging sky, covered with impenetrable clouds, no longer presses, does not press into the earth generously washed with blood. Its thinned vaults receive hole after hole, sagging under the fury of the light born on the other side. The first rays of the furious sun gild the domes of the great Zlatust, and their bright reflection closes my eyes. Someone's lips, lighter than air and wind, carefully touch my forehead. Sleep, soldier. You have won. The eyes of the stalker, spread out on the floor, trembled and slowly opened. The timid morning light peered into the depths of the room through the wide-open doors. The sun had not yet come into its rightful rights, but its first rays were already cutting through the gloom of the fading night. The man raised himself with difficulty and sat up, leaning on his hand. His muscles ached mercilessly. The crazy escape had been hard on him, draining all his strength and exhausting his body. However, the stalker did not pay attention to the pain. The bizarre aura of this place, it seemed, still did not let him out of its embrace, plunging him into the events of days long past. What was that? A living legend? A fairy tale? A myth? The man shook his head, driving away the obsession. A story heard many times, retold in every possible way. No one believed in it for a long time. It is generally not customary to believe in miracles, living in the underworld. Something flashed right at the entrance, reflected in the radiance of the emerging luminary. I had to get up on my unsteady legs to take a closer look. On the steps leading to the temple lay an incredibly long and wide knife, almost completely covered in dried blood. A machete, a punishing sword from the past, from a dream. The stalker approached and, squatting down, carefully touched the wooden handle. Not a mirage, not a vision, a sword waiting for its hero. All fear was gone, vanished irrevocably, leaving no trace, no doubt. The stalker jumped up and abruptly raised the sacred weapon above his head, as if greeting the sun. "I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid anymore." The man did not look at the reptiles crawling out of their holes, attracted by his cry. Looking at the blood-cleansed edges of the sword at the reflection of the unbearably bright, forbidden star, he repeated the strange words over and over again. "We will perform a miracle. We will perform a miracle. We will perform